Live Radio. I'm your host, Amy Montgomery, entrepreneur and brand strategy growth studio owner. Today, my guests are Cindy Waddell and Carl Morrell, co-founders of Desire to Inspire, a company dedicated to bring hope, encouragement, and emotional healing through daily inspiration. After a 38-year career in federal human resources, Cindy followed a calling that began while volunteering in hospice care, creating handwritten messages for two young women facing the loss of their mother. That simple act of compassion eventually grew into a mission-driven business. Alongside her longtime friend and business partner, Carl, he is a retired Army communications officer, entrepreneur, and current chief of staff at charter school in Orlando. They've built a company focused on supporting people through grief, anxiety, PTSD, depression, life celebrations, and life's hardest moments. Today, we're talking about purpose, entrepreneurship, friendship, personal branding, community building, and what it really takes to turn a meaningful mission into a sustainable business. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited about our conversation today. I mean, you guys are just doing such a needed business right now. And so I'm very passionate about it. And your business, I think, is unique. You didn't start with a product idea. It started with a deep human moment. Can you tell us a story that led to that creation of Desire to Inspire?
Sure, Amy, thank you. So I worked for the federal government and wanted to give back to the community as well. And so I became a hospice volunteer. And my first patient was dying of cancer. And she had daughters who were 19 and 21. And having lost my mother in my late 20s, I knew what those girls would be going through, the loss, the grief, the loneliness. And so I wanted to do something for them. So I went to the hospital every day after work. And I met with the patient, and I'm telling you, we became best friends like overnight. In fact, she told me if she was going to live, we would be best friends. And so we just became very close, and I gleaned as much information as I could from her. The things she loved, their traditions, their family, their anniversaries, their birthdays, everything I could. And during that time, I took notes, not telling the family what I was doing. I took notes and I went home every night and I hand wrote 365 days worth of wisdom, inspiration, traditions, birthdays for the two girls. And I made the cards different, but just speaking from the heart, speaking from a mother. I'm a mother, and I knew some of the things to say, but I had also met the husband, the girls, the grandmother, and just loved the family. And I wanted it to be intimate and meaningful. And I hand wrote the 365 days of cards for each daughter on index cards. And I presented them to them at their mother's funeral. And about a month later, the grandmother called me and said I changed their lives. She said the girls got up every morning and read their cards to one another. She said for the first time on her birthday in 6 years, I believe, she got calls from both girls on her birthday. And I can literally picture to the moment I was getting ready for work one morning, and God shone a light on me and he said, Cindy, if you can do this for them and make an impact and change lives, you can do that for others. However, I worked for the federal government and I worked in human resources and I worked extremely long hours. So I knew I would not be able to do it until I retired. So I retired, called my buddy down there on that screen and said, would you join me in this venture? Because he's the brains, he's smart. And he's been an entrepreneur, and I talked him into joining me. Probably didn't take much talking, but anyway, that's how Desire to Inspire was born.
I love that. And Carl, when she called you, tell me a little bit about your journey. Where were you at, and how did you decide to step into this with her?
Yeah, well, I retired in 1995, and since that time, I've had some experience with being an entrepreneur and owning my own company and doing those kinds of things, and working for a youth training company as well. So I was busy doing the things that you do to not just to stay busy, but to make a difference, in our society and our lives. And so when Cindy told me about this, I was like, okay, I like it because you can't help but like the sincerity that goes along with this particular process
Yeah.
of, becoming someone that you can say, I made a difference in their lives. I mean, I think that's huge. I was kind of thinking like, well, we can do that, But let's see how we do that. And so we had several conversations about how to do that and what we thought it would be. The company has since transitioned into many other things from, as you see behind Cindy there, the support piece and so forth. So I thought, I think I'd like to be a part of this. Now, the part I'd like to tell you is that Cindy is a winner. She has been a winner in almost everything that she's touched. And in this, I think no different because she brings such energy and zeal and passion to it that it can't help but succeed. And I said, you know what? I would love to be a part of that. So my wife and I went out to Denver, stayed with Cindy and her husband, and we talked about it. And then it became like reality. And here we are today with the mission to make a difference in the world.
I love that. It's a magical story.
Yeah.
So your cards support people through grief and PTSD and depression and anxiety and pet loss, which I love the pet loss one because I recently lost my baby. And then just major life transitions. Why do you think the words have such a power to influence our emotional well-being? And why do you think that they are really helpful for people in the tough seasons?
Amy, that's a great question. We believe that words have enormous power. When you consistently remind someone they matter in this thing called life, those words begin to take root. What starts as encouragement becomes belief. Doubt is replaced with confidence. Fear gives way to hope. Isolation is met with connection. Saying something uplifting to someone is meaningful, but when you say it to someone daily, that's really transformational.
Yeah.
At that point, it's more than a kind gesture. It is a way of showing them that you care enough to say it every day. And we love that say it every day. I think a lot of people feel lost, unseen, unheard, disconnected. And I think daily encouragement creates a habit. I know you've heard of the to create a habit, it takes 3 weeks. You read a card a day, it creates a habit. And I think that habit is restoring hope, building resilience, strengthening relationships and connectivity, and reminding people of their value and their purpose. I think with COVID, connectivity was lost. Everybody's on their computer. Everybody's on their phone. Connectivity and loneliness are huge right now. Thoughts become beliefs. Beliefs become actions. Actions change lives. And that's why we believe say it every day. And that's really our inspiration for our cards at Desire to Inspire.
I love that. And the other thing about that that strikes me just from, when you go through grief, that what do they say? You have to now create a new routine. Like if you have whether it's an animal, like a dog that you've built your life around, like I did, or it's another human being, all of a sudden your life has now changed and you have to somehow create this structure and you have to somehow create routine because that's supposed to be healthy, right? So, and sometimes they say light a candle or whatever. So that's one thing I love about the idea of these cards, because it can be such a healing thing because you're trying to bring a piece of that of who you lost into your life, right?
Exactly. So here's what, Carl and I have talked a great deal about. When you lose somebody, you have people coming to the house every day. They're bringing food, they're sending flowers, they're sending cards, and then there's the funeral. And everybody's there, and then everybody goes back to their lives, and you're left alone to grieve the loss of that loved dog, cat, person, whatever the case may be, by yourself. And if you have a card every day from somebody that loves you, that reminds you, hey, I'm here with you, I've got this with you, you are not forgotten, I think that can make an immeasurable difference.
Yeah, I love that.
It does. And Amy, it's not like a traditional card company that sends one card for one message with one message for one day. With our product, you get a recurrence of messages, of positive, uplifting messages, encouraging messages that help you to make it through the day. And as we've been talking, the connection piece is absolutely huge. With our product, you get a chance to connect even to folks some you don't know. It's one of those things where we have to manage relationships. We manage relationships all over the place with with our family, with our loved ones, with our children, with our coworkers, with friends and family. And so our product gives you an opportunity to connect. And it also gives you an opportunity to reconnect. It can
Yeah.
reconnect with an individual, with a group, with an organization of people. And then you can stay connected. And
Yeah.
you can stay connected through the use of our cards. And that's one of the things that we like to, emphasize that, yeah, you get more than one. You can have a 30-day set, a 60-day set, a 90-day set, or a 365-day set. And all of it is encouraging. All of it is positive. It's like a smile begets a smile, and that's what we offer. An opportunity, it's like a thought away. If happiness is just a thought away, if you say it every day, if you just say it every day, you begin to believe it. Peace of mind is just a thought away if you say it every day and you believe it, and you just continue to say it. Health and wellness is another piece that you can have with our products. So it's just a thought away. So just say it every day. And that's what you get an opportunity to do with our products and with our cards, whether it's on the celebratory side or the support side, whether it's with your furry pet or with a human.
Yeah.
But connection is so critical and so important. Just to being human, the humanity of it all is that we need to stay connected because we're just made that way. It's in our DNA. And so we
Yeah.
try to bring that part out. Mhm.
Yeah. No, I love
One
that.
thing I want to add is, we do have a 365-day set. You pull a card a day, you put it in your stand, you have a marker that goes in there to keep your place. But as Carl has told me on numerous occasions, he's got the same card up that he's had up for a month because he looks at it every day and it resonates with him and it has meaning and he thinks about it. So you don't have to change a card a day. If one resonates with you, you can keep it up there for a day, a week, a month, or whatever. And I love that too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I love the fact that it's not just, hey, I'm sending a nice get well card. It's a nice way to actually, support somebody for the long haul without, and with the same amount of effort that you would just going and getting a simple card.
Absolutely. Same amount of effort, right?
Yeah, one of the things that we started, Amy, early on was looking for some way to describe what it is we think the effect of our cards can have on individuals and groups, right? And we started with a verse of be ye transformed through the renewing of your mind. And that if you choose to do that, then you can actually make a change in your own personal life, right? It's like that paradigm shift, that transformational shift that makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you feel good about others, and it makes you feel good about the world around you. Because as we say often, I mean, who do you talk to more than you talk to yourself? Self talk becomes so critical in overcoming whatever obstacles, challenges that you face. And this is just one of those, one way to do that. I mean, you can have a steady, nourishing diet of healthy words that start to form and shape your life on a daily basis if you just say it every day. And that's just one of the things. And whether that's as an individual, whether that's as a group, it all has the same effect. Acceptance of that thought and that norm is what will make the difference. And that's what we're out to do, to just let people know that words have power. And I
Yeah,
mean, it's significant. It really is.
it really is. Yeah, yeah. No, that hits home for me, definitely. I think about, what was it, 2014. I was driving to work in my car, and I do Tony Robbins stuff, so I had just started then. My dad raised me on that, but where he basically, you just believe with all faith and just declare what you believe, right? Of what where
Yes.
you believe as if things already exist,
Exist.
right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I would say things like, I have 100,000 people that follow me online. I work for myself. I have my own business. And guess what? That's what I live right now. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it is powerful. It is
It is
powerful.
powerful. And that's the reality. And that's where we would like to take all of the folks in need. Even with the grief piece, we all grieve about something at some point in time in life. And then there's the fact that we all need relief from that
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we do. And so this is one way that you can get that. And not just on the grieving side, but even on the happy and rejoiceful side, that you can share that moment, those experiences with someone else. And it's critical to the overall healthiness of, sometimes when we talk about health, and well-being, people go to a negative point of view. But there's a very real everyday part to mental wellness. And we'd like to concentrate on that as well, right? So we can touch on that part and we can touch on the other parts of health and wellness. But yeah, I'd just like to share that with our audience today, that Desire to Inspire is there to address those issues with you, for you, in any way that we can.
Love that. So, what do you think people misunderstand most about building a purpose-driven business? What makes it unique?
I think maybe they misunderstand that it takes a lot of work and that it's difficult to describe because it's not something that your senses can see. You can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't smell it, touch it, taste it. Like in today's world, if you go and have a great meal, what do? I mean, you take a shot of that meal and you share it. You put it
Yeah.
on Instagram. You say, "Hey, look, I just did." If you go and buy a car and you say, "Hey, I want that car," and you can everyone can describe it. They can see it. They can touch it. They can feel it. But when you say, I want to change the lives of people, then it becomes something that's not so tangible. It's like, what do you mean? This is a purpose, but tell me how. And then you have to get in touch with yourself if you're the recipient so that you say, okay, yeah, I could use that. Everybody needs relief. And then how do I get that? Some people eat, some people smoke, some people drink, some people do a lot of different things to get the relief that they need. And we say if you just take our cards and you read them every day, it will put you in a positive place where you can get the relief that you need. We don't heal, but we can certainly provide the conditions that lead you in that direction. So I think it's that description that is misunderstood of purpose driven and bringing that description home so that folks understand that Cindy and I want to be a difference maker. We want to make a difference in the lives of people. And we think we have a product that can help us do that.
Yeah.
Amy, with what Carl said, it's probably been our most difficult challenge is trying to make people understand what we do. I mean, because sometimes
Yeah.
we have a hard time describing it. Sometimes I tell Carl, why didn't we sell vacuum cleaners? Because you plug it in and you suck, right? I mean, but we're selling inspiration, we're selling wisdom, we're selling the idea that we can transform your life, and that's hard to describe.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I think anytime you get innovative, I've definitely done that in my own business, created things that really, don't really exist. I haven't seen a lot of other people do it. I've seen others do it, but not in the way that I do, right? So it's similar,
Yeah.
right? And people are like, what? What is
Right.
it? What's the deliverable? And so you're then going down this rabbit hole, and I mean, I think went through multiple iterations of trying to explain the what, right?
hmm
So I definitely connect with that on a deep level. One thing I do notice is that people connect deeply with your story and the stories that you tell, that how you started. Do you think founders sometimes underestimate how important their personal story is in the success of their business?
Absolutely do. I have told this story a million times, and everybody says that is the most beautiful story they've heard. But as an entrepreneur, you have to have a story, I believe, to start your business. Something something drove you to that, something made you interested in that, intrigued by that. But we minimize that.
Yeah.
And I think every story matters in this thing called life. Every story, everything you live matters.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to tell why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing that I have noticed. I think we talked a little bit about this before, how I've noticed a pattern between people that are successful especially on the online space with those that are not. And the connection has always been the people that show up for their brand, share their story, share who they are, why they do what they do, and then others that just post images of products that they
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Because you have to connect with people on a deeper reason. There's a deeper reason right there.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Yeah. You got to show up, you got to be present, and you have to believe. You have to believe in your product. You have to be passionate, and you have to have the tenacity, the drive, the ambition to make it out there and to make people believe in you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that that's probably one of the biggest lies that I bought into, even in the marketing space as a marketer, was don't make your brand about you, make it your brand about your ideal buyers, which to a degree it's true. But if you are the one that is creating and you are the one that is showing up and bringing the value, to a degree, people have to also believe in you.
Absolutely. They
So
have to
true.
trust you.
Yeah.
They have to have that bit of faith in you, that trust in you that your product is what you say it is.
Yeah, exactly. So you have customers who love your product, they buy again, and they're telling others about it, and you're getting new people to understand what you do, and you're getting new people to understand what you do, and that's been somewhat of a challenge, and you've been working on that. Why do you think that it's been a struggle? Because you have this great success over here with people that have experienced this, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing. What do you think is the issue or the struggle with the new people?
The challenge. So
Yeah.
here's the thing, we created every card ourselves. We have put the graphics, we have put the design, we have put the thought, we have put the wisdom and the inspiration and the quotes in every card, and that took us a very long time. We have 30 sets of cards, and creating those in 365-day sets has been extensive. So the first probably 2 or 3 years of our business was focused on getting our products right. Then it's getting the word out there about us. And I can tell you, there has not been one person that we've told this to about our products, about our story, who has not said, that's the most beautiful idea. I love it. And our customers are repeat customers. They buy the cards, they fall in love with them, and they buy again for another purpose, another reason, another person. Um, we have not had one complaint, not one we have not had one person say, I do not like this product. I want my money back. And so that's very telling to us that we're on the right path. But where we have lacked thus far is the marketing piece. And that's what we're working on now. People need to know about us to buy our products. And so that's where we're focused now, is getting the word out there, because this product can impact every life out there. And we firmly believe that. They just have to know about us. They have to know about Desire to Inspire.
Yeah. Well, and before our podcast, you also mentioned something that you're doing and working with a company that's doing sort of your brand Bible, right? Which I absolutely love, grabbing all of your value, all of the stuff that makes you unique, all the stuff that people need to know to build to so that they can go to your website and go, "Oh, I get it. I'm buying." Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I have to tell you, they reached out to us, and they're a company in New York City, and they wanted to help us brand, which is, as I said earlier, what we've struggled with. How do we identify, how do we describe what we do? And so they are working on this brand Bible with us, and we meet with them weekly. And I'll tell you, the thought and the in depth process of going through, getting our thoughts, getting our feelings, getting our emotions out is really thought provoking and deep. And we have found it very rewarding thus far. Marketing and branding are two different animals, and I don't think I understood that so much until we started our branding Bible. And branding is telling your story, telling the why, telling the in-depth things about you that make you want to do this,
Mhm.
whereas marketing is selling your product. And that's what I see as the difference. Carl, what do you have to add to that?
Amy mentioned it earlier. The landscape with marketing today is so different than it ever was before. And it is continually evolving, and finding the right place and space to introduce your product to, and to keep it there. And now with the advent of AI, it is totally transforming itself, the marketing space. So marketing and advertising. And we're just getting to the point to make sure that we can build the right team that can help us to stay in front of the change as it occurs, because it's occurring daily.
Mhm.
And that's an important part for us. And as Cindy mentioned, the marketing piece is our greatest challenge now, with getting that over to those other customers that we want to bring on board with desire to inspire, because we want to get them to say it every day.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And
And
let me just add, Amy,
yeah.
that without people like you, it would be more of a challenge. So the fact that you are having us on this podcast today is so meaningful to us. And we just
Absolutely.
want to thank you for doing what you do and allowing people to have a voice. So thank
Yeah,
you.
no, definitely. Yeah, no, my passion is for people to be seen. And, I think I enjoyed hearing your story about that other agency because I was like, oh, maybe, and I'm still curious. I want to see in the end result because I want to know how if they do any of the stuff that I do because, in being in the marketing space for so long, most of the stuff that is taught out there is like you when you do a brand, you do the colors, you do the fonts, your logo has a meaning to it, all those things are emotions, it's your mission, it's your vision, and it's those types of things, right? And then what I found, and then they say stories, they'll say, well, what's your story? And it's a brand story. But then what I'm curious about, because what I've been doing is diving even deeper into that and bringing the individual forth more, like the founder of businesses, so that they are more seen and it's more unique to them, so that people connect with them versus product to product. So yeah, I'm very, very curious on that. But I will say this too. I do want to say this because I'm geeking out is and I don't know if I plan on saying this later, but the number one thing in marketing for store owners that I know that they miss absolutely all. In fact, I have a client this last week. He had hired me I to increase his revenue. So all right, let's go. And I started to create certain email sequences. And he goes, what is this? This is not email marketing. And because he stopped doing emails because he's like, nobody buys. And I said, no, what this is, but it's all targeted to the people that aren't buying. And it's because stores can't convert any higher than, a 3-4% by just sending traffic. So you're stuck there. And the only way you can do that is build out a full on revenue system that's automated on the back end. And that's what people miss. And it does include emails and content and all of these things. And that's the biggest thing. And formally, it's called the e-commerce ecosystem. And it can be a little bit overwhelming, I've discovered, for a lot of people to be going, oh my gosh, there's a whole other piece to it. But I would say if there's a secret that most store owners miss, it's that. And that's what all of the large, big stores that are making millions of dollars have.
That's a good point. That's a great
point.
point.
Thanks for sharing.
With this branding piece, I will tell you that the company we're working with, I don't know if I can mention names or not, but they are pulling at our hearts. They're not so worried about the font, the logo, the colors, that sort of thing, as they are our purpose. Why are we doing this? What are we thinking? And they're making me think every week as they ask questions, and it's about us.
Yeah,
it's about getting to know Carl and I. Yeah,
it's encouraging to me because I felt like I'm in my silo creating something, and when you say things that sounds similar, I'm like, good. There's because I didn't know if there would be a market for what I'm doing.
So you're on track, girl.
So I'm like, good. There's competitors.
This branding piece, is, as I'm sure you're well aware, is about messaging. Can you get the message right? Can you get the message that resonates with all those hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that we know are out there that are in need of or desire to have, just to pass on to a loved one, to a stranger, to a coworker, to someone, right? To themselves even. The messaging is so important. It is just so important. So we're really enjoying the exercises that we're going through with this branding Bible. And it'll be interesting to see the results. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to keep me posted on that one because it's so much better than like things like that. I mean, not to put any other system down, but a lot of people go down the path of story brand, and then they think that, and story brand is just it's like a one-liner, and it's not as in depth, So I love it. So you also talk about creating an inspiration nation movement. Why is community so important to your long-term vision?
Here's what I think. Our world is so disconnected and so lonely right now, so left or right, and so full of anxiety and disconnection and anger and I think that we have so much to be grateful for, so much to be thankful for. Carl, every day I say, "How are you?" And he said, "I'm upright, I'm breathing, and it's a good day." And I'm like, "Okay, Mr. Rogers, it's a good day in the neighborhood." It's always a good day for him. And so, why can't we all have it be a good day for us?
Yeah.
Why is there anger? Why is there so much when we are so blessed as a nation, as a country, and we just need to come together. We need to love one another. We need to inspire one another. We need to encourage one another instead of tear one another down.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the part that I think we sometimes miss, Amy, is that quiet desperation sets in the lives of so many people. You can't see it, but it's there. And it's there for a lot of different reasons. It may be there because of their home situation. It may be there because of their job or their work situation. It may be there because of the friends that they have or don't have. That quiet desperation could be there because of the finances, because I can't do the things that I need to do. And so sometimes when you have to deal with those, you can lose hope. You can actually lose hope that, gosh, it's not going to be okay. Woe is me. And we're saying no, no, nation. No, Inspiration Nation can change that feeling and that thought, because so you think, so you are. I'm going to change the way you think. And if you'll allow us into your life, we think we can do that. And we can make the nation feel a lot better about itself. Because America's a great country. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
And we can do a lot of good things together with each other. And that's our hope, that we can join this in Inspiration Nation. And we'd love to see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this question is going to be more for Cindy, because Carl, you are extremely skilled in this area. So, but I'm curious with Cindy, what have you learned about entrepreneurship that surprised you? Because I know that Carl, like, he's seasoned, so he's probably not had a lot of surprises.
Here's what I told him. I was going to say this morning. Here's what I've learned. You don't start at age 60. You start at age 40, and you don't have a business partner that's older than you that needs naps. You gotta do this smarter than we did. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of tenacity. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage. You make mistakes. Carl and I don't always agree on everything. He is so smart, so intelligent, as you can hear in this podcast. He is eloquent speaking, but our minds go completely opposite on almost every subject. And so we have to understand the way we think and the way we are and the way we operate. And we have to, we always are able to finally agree and come to the best decision for Desire to Inspire. But entrepreneurship is a challenge. I thought I worked hard for the federal government. I retired from the U.S. Mint at Denver, and they were a 24/5 operation. So as the HR director, I wanted to be there for all three shifts. So I got up at 2:30 every morning, and I was at work by 4:30. And I got home at 5:30, 6:30 at night, and just to start the next day with the same thing. And I thought that was a challenge until I became an entrepreneur, and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah.
But you have to keep plugging. You have to keep believing. You have to have the passion and the drive and the ambition to keep going, even when you don't want to. And, that's where Carl comes in, because sometimes I'm like, I am done. I am done. I am done. And Mr. Positive is like, no, we're just starting. We got this.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And he brings me back to reality. But it's rewarding. It's challenging. We make mistakes. But Carl, I'm going to turn it to you, and you tell them our favorite quote about mistakes.
Well, we have a few quotes, and the one that I'll start with is success is not final, and failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Yeah, and that's powerful. And you know what? I say it every day. I think we say it every day to each other in one way or another. It's the courage to continue. And you just have to do that. There aren't any options to this. You just have to continue. And so, being an entrepreneur brings these things up in you. I mean, they materialize, right? And all of a sudden you say, no, I'm thinking of another way to get around that obstacle or over that particular challenge. And so you just keep going. And the other one that we use quite often is one by Nelson Mandela. And he says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And in learning, you win. And each and every day can produce something new in this entrepreneurial world, as I am sure you are aware, and the many other entrepreneurs in the world. But yeah, so we look at it from that perspective. When you put a positive spin on it, your thoughts are positive. It's not like, woe is me. It's like, okay, got it. Now next. And so we just keep moving on, right? Because it's the courage to continue that counts.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, right? This quiet desperation can set in even with entrepreneurs, right? And you have to overcome that. And how do we do that? We do that with positive thought and action.
Yeah.
Action. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the
Here's
little
how you
things.
do it. You bring Carl Morrell onto your team, but he's on this team, so he's not available.
You can get cards from Carl.
You can get cards from Carl.
That's one for you, an entrepreneurship deck. I'd get that one.
We need that, to be honest.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And I do think that because I don't, I think that there's more frequent days, if I'm honest, there's more frequent days of wanting to quit than there is not. And in my, it's funny, there's a lot of people that will, when they feel down or discouraged or punched in the gut, they will not do anything. Like they'll go off and they'll, they'll quit, or whatever. But what do? I 10x it. And it's not good, because when you're 10xing in the midst of anxiety, you make lots of mistakes, talking about mistakes. I remember, I don't know, even it was a couple of weeks ago, I was having some stressful time, and I spent all this time on this beautiful newsletter. I was like, oh, everyone's going to love my new newsletter. And I had my beautiful graphics and the beautiful this, beautiful that. And then I sent it, and then I was like, oh no, I forgot I had to make this one last edit. So I went in, I was like, you know what? I'll just send an update, and some people will have grace. So I went in and I just updated it. And there was this funky thing that happened with technology. And for some reason, it erased my subject line and put my email in the subject line and sent it. And I was like, oh, everyone's going to think I'm an idiot. But, sometimes it's those things and sometimes you think, I wonder what they're thinking on the other end of this. But they're probably like, well, she's had a day like me.
Well, here's what Carl has taught me in this thing called life. There's different personality types. I'm definitely type A. He's definitely type B. There is no questions about it. I run. And he has taught me that this is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Yeah. Because I have to have everything done today. And yeah. And to the point where I drive myself crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not fun anymore, so he has to bring me back to reality sometimes. So thank you for doing that, Carl.
Well, you're welcome. and thanks for keeping me sound.
What do you think is your truth that has gotten you this far in your journey?
My truth is that I believe. I believe in this company. I believe in what we're doing. I believe that we can make a difference in this thing called life. We can make a difference in this world. Carl reminded me this morning. I'll let you tell the story.
No,
but
go ahead, please.
Carl reminded me this morning that when we were early on, I said, let's be the difference makers. And he said that resonated with him. But I believe we can be the difference makers. And I believe we can because we believe. And I believe that words have the power to change lives. And I'm passionate about it. And I think that's the difference for us. And it's people like you that help us do that.
Thank you so much. I have one more question for you. If you're able to give yourself one piece of advice when you first started out, what would it be?
Carl, you do this one.
Yeah. No, I would say the piece of advice I would give myself is to prepare in those areas where you're weak. Prepare for the things that you don't know or understand, because the preparation on the front end will have a very important impact on the process and on the progress that you make on the back end. That's what I would tell myself. I love the fact of having the energy, the thoughts, the ideas to jump into it, which is all great. But I think we do one thing in life that we may not have a name for, but it's assess and adjust. And I would say be ready to assess on the spot, adjust, make an estimate of the situation, and take action.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that everyone that is listening knows where to go to find you, your website. So how can they learn more about your business and more about the cards, and what are some of your social media?
Thanks for asking. So we are Desire to Inspire, but we are Desire with a Z. And so it's DEZIRE to Inspire, TOINSPIRE.com. That is our website. We're on Shopify. I am on Facebook at facebook.com/Desire to Inspire. I'm on LinkedIn at Cindy Waddell. We're on Instagram at Desire to Inspire. And so follow us, look us up, research our cards. You'll love them as much as we do. You will be passionate about them. And we are there for you. Customer service is so important to us, Amy. It is my number one goal because I feel like everywhere I go, except Chick-fil-A, customer service is out the window. They don't care if you buy from them or not, or, that's just the way I feel. Yeah. And customer service is so important to us. And I am there for every customer, and that's important to us.
I love that. Carl and Cindy, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your journey.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. It's been fun, Amy, and I look forward to a continued relationship with you.
Yes, definitely. And if you're listening, you want more information about this podcast or upcoming shows, you can visit acalltothrive.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week.